The platform says we believe that good government is based on individual and each person's ability, dignity, freedom, and responsibility must be honored and recognized. We believe equal opportunity is a right and a privilege, but equal outcome is not. We insist that no one's rights are negotiable and that individual freedom demands personal responsibility. I have said that I'm not running for church elder or pontiff. I don't believe that leadership means telling everyone what to think, where opinions are so divided, even among people with similar beliefs. I'm running to be governor, and I believe my first duty as governor is to ensure that there is a system of just laws and they're fairly applied in Texas. I can't support maintaining a system where gambling is illegal except for certain special groups and classes that are for some reason assumed to be free from the negative influences. Worst of all, the state itself. We've got a situation in Texas where the state of Texas engages in gambling and lotteries and tells free people that they can't participate in that behavior. I think the prevailing sentiment in our own platform is individual liberty. It is a constitutional issue. It's one that we ought to clear up, and that's the kind of inconsistency and double-mindedness in the law that I'm going to bring back before the people of Texas. So where a bill would come that would further muddy that you can and you can't, and oh, you can if you do it on Sunday at 3 o'clock but not on Friday at 6, that stuff's going to get vetoed. If it moves us towards that prevailing sentiment of individual liberty and freedom, then that's probably going to be okay with me. And that may not be what you want to hear, but I think the prevailing argument in the platform is we promote a fair and just set of laws, freedom of the people, and you write the Constitution, the governor does not. So we've got to clear that up.
Debra, thanks a lot for being here tonight. As a business owner, I am exhausted. I don't even know what game we're playing anymore. The unemployment taxes went up 75% for me this year, 75%, which means in order for me to hire more people, which I'm ready and willing to do, I mean, I now have business right now that I could hire 4 more people, but I really am hesitant to do that when my unemployment taxes went up 75%. That is a huge hit for me for first quarter. What exactly, I mean, I heard about some $5,000 tax incentive for the next tax return. I need that money now. I don't need it next year on some tax return.
You're going to hear from me a lot of going back to first principles. I don't see a role in a constitutional republic for the government to be providing charity. I don't see a role for the government to be providing charity when you're sick. I don't see a role for the government to be providing charity when you're poor. And I don't see a role for the government to be providing help when you're unemployed. That said, we've got a complex system of laws in Texas. I heard some state reps out in West Texas debating what we were going to do to fix the unemployment liability that the state of Texas has, because we have thought that we were the church and we were going to take care of everybody and we were going to provide all these services, and we don't have the resources to do it. And they were talking about that, and I said, well, you know, the problem would go away if you get rid of property tax and add 150,000 new jobs in Texas. The sure cure for unemployment is let people go to work, and you don't have to worry about paying unemployment benefits. So that's one thing that we would do. If we get the government off the back of business, people could go back to work, they would have the jobs, and we wouldn't have to do that. The specifics of your question is going to take some more time to figure out what we can do in Texas. We certainly don't need Washington, D.C. dictating what we're going to do. I appreciate that individual businesses might want to create a cushion or some sort of benefit should they have to downsize and they want to pay a severance package or they want to offer some support. That's a wonderful charitable thing to do. But I think we really have strayed far from where we ought to be in forcing this unemployment at the government level. We're not going to get back there overnight, but we've got to have that mindset of what's the role of government. Number one here is if we get rid of property tax, the sooner the better. You'll see people going back to work. I'm not sure how to, and if you'll get, Nancy's got a notepad over here though, if you'll leave her your name, number, and we're looking for answers on that, and when we have something that specifically looks at what we're doing for those small business people and what we can do as a state, what we would recommend, we'll get that to you.
Okay, we're going to only have about 5 more minutes, so I need you to ask your questions, short questions, and we need to move quickly if we can.
Maybe need me to give short answers.
I wasn't going to say that.
Mrs. Medina, from one homeschooling mom to another, what would you do to protect our rights to be able to homeschool our children from the encroaching federal government of trying to regulate and coming into homes and finding out whether or not we are doing the right thing, and checking our curriculum and everything else that the chatter's going around? We need to know that our rights to homeschool are going to be protected.
I know that the Texas Homeschool Coalition has endorsed Governor Perry for re-election. And that boggles my mind because as a homeschooling person, while the governor has been purportedly favorable to us, it's only when we've got his arm twisted up behind his back and holding him. Maybe the best way to demonstrate my answer to you is to say I had a woman in West Texas ask me why I homeschooled my children, and I told her it was none of her business. Those are your kids. They're your kids. And I don't have to justify to you how I fed or raised mine as long as they're healthy and cared for. The government has no business in my family, and I have no business in yours. The raising of children is the determination of the parents. We've not had that in government. We've had government that has said, I'm all about individual freedom as long as you choose to do what I tell you to do what I think you ought to be doing, then you're free. The minute you make a choice for your family that's different than the one I thought you should have made, I'm going to regulate you. That's not individual freedom and responsibility. The upbringing of children is parents. We've got 2 educational options in Texas. The state of Texas does require that our children be educated. Our Constitution says in order that they would understand liberty, the state of Texas will provide a free public education. It doesn't say you have to send them to that free public education, but you do have to raise up your children. You can either put them in a private school, homeschools or private schools in Texas, or you can put them in a public school. As long as your child's being educated in either a private school or a public school in Texas, the rest is your call. And I hope that demonstrates not just in lip service, but in me saying to you that it's your choice, and I'm going to support that choice. We're going to keep Washington, D.C. out of Texas education. We're going to get them out of public ed as soon as possible, and they're not messing with private education in Texas.